In this update, we've got big changes ahead with a much calmer period for severe storms. And then we're watching two cold fronts with a stronger push by the weekend into early next week. And that's the one that may lead to some early season tropical storm development in the longer term. So let's talk about the details going forward and take a look at the satellite picture this morning. And we've got a dominating ridge that's locked over the Pacific Northwest, bringing well above average temperatures for them. And I don't really see that going away anytime soon. At the same time, we've got a tropical feed of moisture down here in the Gulf of Mexico. That's leading to all the instability and the heavier rains that dropped over Texas over the course of the week. But we're going to be watching a cold front, the first of series of cold fronts this week. They're going to be dropping southbound. But you can see out here in the open waters of the Atlantic, there's not much tropical development as of right now. So that's a good thing because we are actually in hurricane season. This is the first day of hurricane season on the Pacific side. And this is the first day they've been going to do updates from the National Hurricane Center going forward twice a day from now all the way until November 30th. And the new thing they've changed this year is they now extended it to 7 days instead of 5 days. So for the next 7 days, we're not really anticipating any sort of tropical storm development. But beyond that, things get a little bit more interesting. So let's talk about the details going forward. Here's the setup for today. So we're going to watch this boundary that's going to be dropping southbound. It's a weak cold front, but either way, it's still going to have some instability along with it. And along this boundary, it's going to be having some storms starting to break out. Nothing really severe, but light to moderate, some heavier embedded showers across portions of North Texas this afternoon and further to the north across portions of Missouri. They could also have some instability with some heavier rain showers in the heat of the afternoon going into early evening. But it's really right along this boundary is the focal point for some showers and thunderstorms. But you can see for the rest of the country where that high pressure is, that's all the sinking air, and a lot of heat's going to be building, and drier air as well, and especially up there into the Pacific Northwest. But as we go into tomorrow for your Tuesday, there's your cold front dropping further south. So usually typically behind a cold front, you've got much drier, much more stable type air. And that's exactly what we're going to find as we go into the day on Tuesday. Really the only unsettled conditions to speak of is going to be further south into central Texas, heading into South Texas. But further north, you've actually see the warm front. And as the warm front lifts from the south to the north, those typically are the ones that you got to be concerned about, definitely for stronger storms, if not severe storms. So I do think that's what we're going to have to be concerned about in your Tuesday afternoon, especially into portions of southern Illinois, into portions of southern Indiana. But you can see further to the north, we've got a stronger cold front, and that's the cold front that's going to be pushing southbound and going to leave some pretty pleasant conditions and temperatures for a good part of the Northeast. So those are the storms as we head into Tuesday. The Storm Prediction Center does have a slight risk for severe storms. So if you live in the Jackson area, if you live in the Knoxville area, down here to Nashville, you got to be concerned about some, higher instability as we heat up the atmosphere. And some of those could be some, larger hail, some quarter-sized hail, pockets of quarter-sized hail, and some borderline, some severe storms. So nothing too greatly to be concerned about, but definitely some higher instability as we head into your Tuesday afternoon. So as we transfer to Wednesday time frame, there's the cold front for the Northeast, and you're really going to feel that one. I mean, this has got some chillier air for May standards behind it, and there's that front. Actually kind of rare to see a front making it all the way down into the deep south, but nonetheless, that's what it does. And right there into the southeast along this boundary, that's where we're going to have the atmosphere start to overturn in the afternoon time frame and produce some of those showers and thunderstorms for a good part of the southeast. And that'll be on the day on your Wednesday time frame. But look at the temperatures as you wake up on Wednesday. I mean, that's some low temperatures, especially behind that cold front that's going to be entering in. So we're talking 40s in Wisconsin, back into Michigan, into portions of New York, and into Pennsylvania, all up here in the Northeast and New England are going to be experiencing well below average temperatures and even those freezing temperatures up there in Canada. So that's just definitely a stronger push of colder air. And then we're going to have a secondary push that's going to be starting to enter portions of Canada. And that's going to be an even stronger push as we head towards this weekend and going into early next week. So if the breakdown for the next 3 days, as far as on the precipitation front, again, it's pretty high and dry up there out west. It's really not until you get inland that we have some sporadic activity off the northwest flow. So here's your chart at the bottom of the screen here. All those areas in green, just over the next 3 days, you're looking at maybe a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch precipitation. It's really along these boundaries where the cold fronts are, and just to the south of there, that's where the highest rain amounts are going to be. So portions of southern Missouri, getting into portions of Kentucky there, getting into Virginia, some higher rain amounts, and then that secondary push with that colder front back into Texas, draped across North Texas, and where that MCS system is down there into the Gulf, closer to that is going to have higher rain amounts for South Texas, and again along the coastal regions where that cold front is kind of stall out along these areas down here off I-20. Those are going to be the focal point for increased showers and thunderstorm activity. So as we head into Thursday, here's the bigger picture on Thursday. We still got, the ridge of high pressure that's really going to be dominating the overall weather for the Pacific Northwest, well above average temperatures. Even some record high temperatures for them have been broken, and some more are going to be broken going forward. But look at that. We've got an area of instability up here in portions of a kind of a colder pocket. So we'll always have to look for these. And there's two defined areas. There's one up here, and there's also another one down here into the Baja. So that's going to be the focal point. And to the right of there, that's where these are your lift mechanisms. So these are the ones that have the lift to it. And as these come across, and we've got some of that southwest flow pulling in that Gulf moisture, pulling into the instability, then we have the lift mechanisms, and that's the one that's going to be creating some additional showers and thunderstorms later on Thursday and later on Friday as this pushes southbound into the days ahead. So let's look at this and look at the vorticities. It's pretty evident where the lift mechanism, as this spins just to the right of there, as this drops further south, that's going to be the concern for showers and thunderstorms. And some of those could be on the stronger side, if not severe. Not too much to be concerned about, but definitely pockets of instability that we got to be concerned about going forward, especially into your Thursday afternoon. So here's the setup on the water vapor imager. You can actually see this transport index coming in off the southwest flow. Southwest wind is a high wind. It's a warm wind, and it has a lot of moisture content to it because the lift comes in from the south, and that's where the water is. It pulls it inland, and then and taps into some of those higher dew points that are draped across portions of the southern plains. There's not much out here in the Pacific Northwest, so that's the ridge, right? I mean, underneath that ridge, you get a lot of sinking air. You either have sinking air, which is compresses anything south. You can't lift. There's no lift mechanism, so that's typically a drier, more stable type atmosphere. And where you have the lift and where it becomes more unstable, and you've got rising motion air, those are the areas that have more probability to see rain showers and turn those into thunderstorms if they have some instability, and the lift mechanisms are going to be associated with it. And that's exactly what's going to unfold as we get into Thursday afternoon, but especially into your Friday afternoon. So here's the front as we go into Friday. Some of those overall temperature anomalies, again, what stands out like a sore thumb is those well above average temperatures up here in Washington and Oregon and Northern California. There's plenty of heat for them, but typically right before a cold front is you always get your hottest temperatures, and that's exactly what's going to happen with some sort of with compressional heating further south, awaiting for this cold front. So right along this boundary here, that's where the unsettled conditions and that's where the instability is going to lie. And as we head into Friday, there's your CAPE values, your convective available potential energy. Again, nothing extreme. So you have an active dry line. You got a secondary cold front that's going to be pushing in from the north. And you might have increased dew points. The dew points get into the 60s and 70 range, so you got ample amount of moisture as those lift mechanisms, one out here into the Baja and one up here towards portions of the Dakotas through Minnesota, and just to the right of there, that's where the lift mechanisms are going to be. So you got dew points above, anything above 55, that puts you in the probability of some severe storm criteria. And that's exactly what we're going to see going into your Thursday, late Friday timeframe. But again, nothing terribly too concerned about. There's not really areas that are like more widespread severe storms this week. It's pretty calmer this week. The area that has the severe storms, the potential, nothing on the table from the Storm Prediction Center as of yet. But the climate, the learning model definitely has, with that increased Cape values, the increased dew points with the cold front lifting and the lift mechanism down here towards the Baja. Yes, it implies the dry line could get active again out here in West Texas, Western Oklahoma. So we have to be concerned about this area as we head into your Friday night time frame. But beyond that, we could have some storms going into Friday night. But we go into the weekend, it's going to feel every bit of chillier air, and it's going to be feeling really nice considering where you've been as of late, with a good pocket of 10-15 degrees below average. Temperatures will be locked over a good part of the southern plains, a good part of the southeast, and a good part of portions of Kentucky and Ohio, and up here in portions of Pennsylvania, feeling really nice. And there's that front that came in from the northeast, and then the secondary push. So behind that secondary push, you've got a lot of drier air, and that won't be until the day on Sunday. But out ahead of it, you've got heavier rain. So it's pretty dry for a good part of the week for the Northeast. But as you go into Saturday night, as you go into your Sunday time frame, you're going to have increased shower activity along the I-95 corridor up here into the Northeast. But once that cold front passes, you've got extremely drier air, less humid air, and more stable air, and it's going to be feeling really nice behind that cold front. So there's your surface map as we head into Sunday, where all the rain will be, and where it's clear behind that front, it's clear skies, right? You got high pressure starting to build, and that's going to be significant. This high pressure that's starting to build over portions of southern Canada, that's the one that's been locked over the northwest. So that's going to slowly migrate, eastbound, and really start to build as we get deeper into that 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th time frame. At the same time, there's the cold front, and you can see the pressures here. There's the high pressure by the time we get into the 21st, as that ridge will slowly start to be on the move from the Pacific Northwest, and now filtering into more of the southern Canada region. But eventually that will start filtering in over portions of the Northeast. But in the short term, we're going to be watching these low pressure centers, and that's the cold front that's going to be draping off and then finally actually moving off the coast. But before it does that, it's going to be leaving again over several days. Once that cold front pushes through on Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be around for early next week for several days, leaving those below average temperatures. So it's going to be feeling really nice up here as the ridge will slowly start to break down up here in the Pacific Northwest and finally be on the move. And as this slowly migrates from west to east, and this will be slowly starting to build over portions of the Northeast. So by the time we get into, say, that 24th, maybe the 25th time frame, going to be fairly significant. So remember the cold front that moved off the coast, right? That cold front is going to be shifting and moved off into the open waters of the Atlantic. And at the same time, that ridge is going to start to move over. So now by the time we head into the 24th, again, it won't be until 9 or 10 days from now. But whenever you see these type setups, you always start to look for maybe some tropical mischief, especially with the cold front moving out in the open waters. And then you start to get lower pressure. So you get that. These are the pressure points as we head into your 24th, 25th time frame, implying with that ridge over the top that we could be getting some lower pressures underneath off the southeast coast. And that's where we could have, potential early season, some tropical mischief develop. So you can see the ridge. This is again by the 24th, 25th time frame moving across, and it should be locked over a good part of the northeast and southern Canada by then, lowering the pressures underneath. So these areas along the Carolina coast, off here by Georgia, back into Florida, this is going to be a highlighted area that we have to look for as this setup starts to unfold. And this is the latest update from the surface guidance, with the high pressure locked over the top. We've got lower pressures underneath. Again, this is 9-10 days out, so this is something longer term. But right now, we're watching initial stages of this maybe potential low pressure forming out into the open waters of the Atlantic. And now that we're going into hurricane season, we got to watch all these type systems like this. So the longer this is going to be able to sit over the open waters and just kind of fester, then that's where you got to be concerned about for a little quick spin up, and maybe move it inland, going towards the Carolinas, maybe towards Florida as we get into that 24th, 25th, 26th time frame. So that's definitely something I'll be watching going forward. So I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I do daily updates on those platforms as well. And catch me at the next update on here, where I protect you before and after the storm.